everybody, it's Catherine from Jayne Catherine on Books. I'm here with a bit of a chat about what I've been reading recently, and there's quite a few to talk about today, so without further ado, let's crack on. First one, The Asylum by Karen Coles. Now you'll recall that this is quite new to me. Don't know if it was the last haul or the haul before. I was really anticipating this. It is a historical fiction set in 1906 and it's set in Angleton Lunatic Asylum and features Maud Lovell. Well guys, so sorry, it's the DNF. It's the DNF. I really persevered. I persevered, but it's nicely written, but it's all much of the same. I mean, I read 100 and odd pages and it just felt all the same. It feels like an account of Maud's time in there, and I kept waiting for something exciting to happen and it didn't seem to, so I've put it down. I just want to read a little bit to you. This is in chapter 5 and I thought, oh great, this is going to be really good because it has got good reviews, but no, it was just so monotonous. So Diamond insists I mix with other patients. He says it will facilitate my recovery. Prune and Chins don't approve, that's two of the wardens. If their alarmed expressions are anything to go by, but they take me all the same to the long room they call the gallery. It has tall windows on one side with grills, of course, and pictures on the walls and lots of women milling about. Artificial flowers adorn the light fittings. It's prettier than I expected, as if they're trying to fool us into thinking we're in some kind of a hotel rather than a madhouse. Still, I quite like it. We're all wearing the same dresses, we lunatics, grey, scratchy wool, and on everyone's back the same 3 words embroidered: Angleton Lunatic Asylum. And it's sort of, it's not a bad book, it's not badly written. I was really excited by that because, you know, that's how these establishments were in some parts of the country. That's how the people with mental illness were treated. But it was all about, you know, she went one day for therapy with this doctor that's trying to hypnotise her, and then she went back and had a walk round, and then she went for a therapy, and I just couldn't continue. So sorry, that's a DNF. I'll be sending that to the charity shop. Okay, so I want to just do a couple now that I was kindly sent by NetGalley and the publishers for review. Both of these are coming out in August, so I thought that I would talk about them here. Now the first one is called In the Country of Others. If we can find a finished photo of this, we will put it up. I'm not sure if that's out yet. This comes out on the, I think it's the 5th of August, somewhere around the 5th of August, I believe. Yes, 5th of August. Now, many who's been here a while will know that I absolutely loved a debut book by Leila Slimani called Lullaby. It was a really creepy, hard-hitting psychological thriller. And I believe a second book was of a similar vein. Now, what I've actually put in my review is, if you're a fan of those books from Leila Slimani and you are coming into this one thinking you're going to get the same, then it may not be the book for you. If you like something thrilling, fast-paced with twist after twist, this is nothing like that. So I think you have to go into this with no preconceptions, as if this is a brand new author really. It takes place mainly in Morocco in the 1950s, and our main protagonist is Matilda, and she is French, and she marries someone who is of Moroccan origin, and they go to live in Morocco. he's been left some sort of a homestead by his family, and so the Upsticks go over there, set up stall in this bit of a dilapidated place in the middle of nowhere, and she raises her family there, and she got really high expectations for moving there to get away from some demons from her past, and it's not what she thought. She found it a very oppressed country at that time. She lived there through the revolution, and women were very much marginalised and kept in their place. So it didn't turn out quite that she wanted. The book itself is written with the experiences of Leila Slimani herself from being in Morocco and being brought up there, and it felt very much like a memoir. I personally wish she would have written it as a memoir. I think it would have been better received. I think that there's quite a few unkind comments on Goodreads, which I don't think people should be doing. You know, at the end of the day, when they've got a book published, and people are buying those books, and this is a third book, I believe, I don't think people should be, it's not their, everybody's got an opinion, but I think you can be polite about it. And I think in some ways it would have been better received if she'd have done it as a memoir. It didn't work for me really as a piece of fiction. I found that it felt more like a debut novel. You know, some debut novels where, you know, they're really good writers, but the flow isn't quite right, and if the flow's not quite right, you don't always get what's happening. So that's very much how it felt to me. I understand why she wrote this book. It is a very important book. It really catalogues that time, you know, the revolution over in Morocco in the 1950s. So I understand why she wrote it, especially having gone through things. But I think she should go back to her psychological thrillers. She's that's her, you know, her bag really. So I gave it 3 stars, but go into it with fresh eyes really. And then the next one that I got from NetGalley is the latest from Anthony Horowitz, and it's from a series. This is book 3 in the series. It's coming out on the 19th of August, and I'd not read book 1 and 2 in the series. I didn't realise it was, and it took me a while just to get the feel of it, because Anthony Horowitz is a character himself in this. He's one of the characters. It's the Harrowitch, and I'm trying to think who his sidekick is, Daniel Hawthorne. So it's the Harrowitch and Hawthorne series. Daniel Hawthorne is a private investigator, and Tony Harrowitz is writing about him and his work and some of the cases. Anyway, they've been invited over to Alderney in the Channel Islands, so I was really excited for that, because the Channel Islands is a favourite place of David and I's, although we've not been to Alderney. It's one of the smaller islands, quieter islands, and they're invited over for a literary festival, and I enjoyed it. I didn't love it. It got a very cosy feel to this one. I think you got the time and place and the atmosphere of Alderney, of the Channel Islands, its quaintness, its old-fashionedness, and the clique of the characters that lived there were really well portrayed. But you can imagine that they can't go anywhere, well, he can't go anywhere, without there being a murder. So they soon get embroiled into this murder, and it was interesting, it was exciting. The plot didn't feel anything new, and I gave it 4 stars, very well written. You know, he knows his craft, but it was a bit of a cosy crime for me. So I think this stood up well as a standalone. I didn't think there was anything detrimental in not having read book 1 and 2. And I really enjoyed it. I think it makes a fun holiday read. I am a fan of his books. I just think this had a more of a cosy feel to it than some of his other series. Therefore, I gave it, I thought, oh, I've given it 4 stars. I didn't, I'm sure I didn't. Yes, I think I rounded it up to 4 stars, but I don't often give more than about a 3.5 for cozy mysteries. So that comes out on the 19th, and especially if you've read 1 and 2, you know, you'll be glad to get your hands on this one. So they're the 2 NetGalleys. Sorry, I'm rustling away. Yes, again, I rounded it up to 4 stars. Okay, then next, 2 from a new series, and the first one is Silverfin, and this is Charlie Higson. Now this is, I've spoken about this briefly when I hauled it. This is number 1 in the Young Blonde series. You've got to give it a little bit of time to get into this one. I think if you're of a certain age, you have really preconceived ideas of James Bond, this suave, sophisticated man that we know from all the films that, you know, got women falling at his feet, and he's you know, having all these hijinks and adventures. And we first meet him as he's probably about 13-14-year-old, just going off to Eton, which is like, you know, grammar school age, so he'd probably be around that. And he's very quiet, very unassuming, gets bullied, doesn't stick up for himself. And I thought, goodness me, Charlie Higson, you know, he's a good author. He doesn't seem to got the measure of James Bond as a young lad. But as you read on, he grows. So he grows into more of a character. Certainly by book 2, which is Blood Fever, we start to see the traits of the James Bond as we know him as an adult in the, you know, the grown-up versions and the films. I really enjoyed these. I gave them both 4 stars. This, you get these, and especially for, you know, for teenage years, I'd have been really excited to read these. They're very adventurous. They remind me a little bit of a slightly grown-up version of the Adventurous Five. The Adventurous Five? I can't remember now. Enid Blyton, the Adventurous Five, the Famous Five, and the Adventurous Seven. See, it's that long ago when I was little. I can't remember what they're called. They've just got that sense of adventure in the day when kids used to wander into all sorts of adventures. They didn't need the parents with them. It was safe to go wandering off, you know, and get themselves involved in things that the local villains are up to no good. So in book 1, he goes to stay with his guardian in the Scottish Highlands, and on Loch Silverfin there is something very strange going on, and yeah, it then goes more like a James Bond film as to how you see them, like Moonraker. Very much reminded me a bit of that feel. So really I'm taking to James now. I'm excited to continue with the series. In book 2, this takes place in Sardinia, and he goes on a holiday. It's more like a school trip really, to look at some architecture and look at some archaeological digs. But while he's there, there's another baddie. Oh yes, there's another baddie there, and he's built himself. He's passes himself off as this Italian count, as in Count de Marquis, that sort of thing. He's built himself this mountain fortress, and yeah, there's all sorts of underhand things happening there. And perhaps James has to blow it up. Yeah, it's only 13 and 14, but yeah, you know, like when you see at the end of most James Bond films where the baddies' lair and territory are blown up. Well, yeah. So you get all the thrills and spills. And I think, you know, the young teenagers was absolutely adore these. And I highly recommend them as an adult. They were fun. So that's those two. This month, you know, I'm featuring Kate Atkinson. So I read The Big Sky. And this is featuring Jackson Brodie. So it is a mystery. He was in the police force and now is working as a private detective. Apparently this is number 5. It's number 5 in the series. So really didn't get any sort of lead up to his personal life. You do meet his ex-wife and his son. So obviously there are things that have gone on before. But you soon got into it. And I absolutely loved this. I gave it 4 stars. It takes place in Scarborough and all around North Yorkshire now. We live in Scarborough, and we know, because I knew everywhere he was talking about in here, it just made it extra special. I really loved it. Now, there's quite a dark undertone to this. We are looking at child abuse. We are looking at paedophile rings, all those dark and nasty things. But actually there was a case many years ago of, they've not used the exact names, but similar circumstances where it was well known that you know, these people were involved in something they shouldn't be. And this does hint at that, and the whole plot, the whole case revolves around that idea. I don't want to paint it as being bleak though, because yes, that's a bleak subject, but there's a lot of light-hearted moments in this. He's an okay guy, you know, you can take him or leave him really for me. Whether you'll have built up a better idea of him having read the other 4. But he's okay, he's fair, he likes to do the right thing, and you know, he's just a decent guy, no great shakes. But I just love this. It's well written, the plot flows nicely, and I highly recommend it. I want to read the rest of it. I don't think I'm going to go back to reading 1 to 5. I think I shall carry on when she brings the next one out. So yeah, so far so good. I really enjoyed it. And that's all the books that I've been reading recently. Just want to touch on what I'm at the moment. I've picked up Life After Life, is another one by her. And the thing I mentioned in my TBR sort of video was that her books are so different. They're all different, and they tend to look at different subjects. And I think this proves it, because I'm struggling, guys. I'm on page 179 and I'm struggling a little bit with this one, and I've had a few comments from 1 or 2 of you that said that you know, they end up DNFing it because they couldn't get on with it. I mean, this is about a baby being born in 1910. Now, the first time she doesn't make it. She, you know, she's delivered as a stillbirth. She doesn't make it. And the whole essence of the book from the blurb is, what if you get a chance to relive your life again? How would you change things? Well, it's a touch strange because so far I think she's had about 6 lives, and I'm only on page 179, and nothing really changes. You just go back to the beginning again and live exactly the same. So it very much reminds me of the 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, where she relives the same day over and over and over again, but as a different character. She lives every day over and over again, the same character, but she lives a little bit longer each time. Now that wasn't quite what I was expecting, I suppose. I was expecting it to be just another chance at life, and because she was, you know, given another chance, that had an impact on how she lives. It starts off really, I think, with probably her last death, the last time she dies, but I'm struggling with it because, you know, it's chunky. We've got 600 pages worth, and I think, crikey, you know, she dies at 0, she dies then age 3, she dies then age 5, she dies then age whatever, and every time you go back to day 1. And there must be something interesting that comes out of all this, but at the minute, you know, it's hot weather and I haven't got the strength to be plodding through it. So I'm doing it slowly. I'm reading a children's book alongside it just for a bit of upliftment. It's very well written because Kate Atkinson, you know, she's another one that's a master of a craft. But goodness me, is it slow going, this. Okay then, so that's all I've got to talk about today. The only other thing is that I'm taking a bit of a summer break. I'm taking the rest of the summer off. You know, we're going to get a chance to meet up with relatives and our children and what have you that we haven't seen for, you know, over 18 months because of all the lockdowns here in the UK. So we're going to take a break, and I'll be back early autumn time. Yeah, probably have August and first couple of weeks or so in September, and then probably be back with you at the end of September sometime. So have a lovely rest of the summer, enjoy the most of the weather, stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the autumn, fall as you call it, across the pond. Bye for now.